saw from looking at the film from yesterday's game?
It was okay. We obviously played an opponent that we should have beaten. I thought they played very hard, but we got to play a lot of players, and I think that helped some of our young guys a little bit, and then some that just needed the reward and then working hard on the practice field. We were okay. We weren't, we were on cue, and kids looked like they were focused. I think we had 5 missed assignments, and 2 missed assignments and 5 missed tackles, the whole day. So it was good, and I thought our players handled the whole week correctly. We were focused, we got better, and one of the things about it is we were not trying to look ahead, but there's so much similarity in Western Carolina and Texas A&M, and actually previously Ole Miss, as far as formations and quite a few plays, and in some of the routes. So, to have had a bad week of practice and a bad week of performance, or a bad day of performance, would have certainly been something that would have hurt us, not just Saturday, but on down the road. So we were very pleased about the whole attitude, the focus, the approach for the whole weekend, and especially Saturday too.
Is there anybody who, down that depth chart, who did get to play, you were surprised or took a positive outlook based on how they played yesterday?
Well, there were several young men that got to play just because we wanted to make sure they got the reward of playing some of our scout teamers. We've been playing some other guys. Cameron Melton's been playing a little bit, and King's been playing, McEnroe's been playing. A lot of those guys got reps, a little bit more reps than they've been getting, and they played very well. All that helps. It just helps to be out there on a game field in front of a game crowd. And all those are 1AA opponent. Those guys are pretty good athletes, and they're going to, speed-wise, it was certainly challenging. So it was good for all of them to get all those extra repetitions.
You say the offenses are similar, but I guess obviously the talent level is different. So.
Well, it's just totally different, but the formation recognition and the adjustments and the calls and the checks, and we'll always tweak a game plan. But when you talk about trips, or you talk about doubles, or you talk about this mode or this formation, the more players see it, the more comfortable they are in adjusting to it. And so there's some carryover there that's going to help us. Just to give you an example, LSU was a total change for us from what we had been working against. And in those 3 days, we had to totally go back toward more of an old pro-style offense and inside running game with fullbacks and those type things. So other than just the physicality of it, you have to kind of change some X's and O's and some different fundamentals and things where players fit together. And so it helps now to have had 2 or 3 opponents in a row where they've been more in the one-back spread mode. And they all have different plays they lean on. And obviously Texas A&M's got great physical talent. But the formation recognition, especially when they start speeding it up, because they're a fast-paced team too, that's just going to help us, to have been looking at those formations and being aligned on the same things.
Ellis, they're the #1 statistical offense in the conference, one of the top in the country. That's statistically, but when you look at them, is this the top offense you've seen thus far?
It's the top production. They don't have a soft spot. They've got great receivers. They got 2 NFL-looking tight ends that don't even get on the field with about 10, 12 snaps a game. Obviously, the quarterback is what makes them dynamic, but they'd be a really good football team even if he wasn't on the field. They'd be a very good football team. They got a really good offensive line. Running backs are, they got depth, they got rotation. They're all good running backs. They catch the ball well, they run the ball well, they pass protect well. Obviously, Manziel is the most dynamic player in the country right now, as far as the ball in his hands. But at the same time, he got great players around him, and that's what makes it so hard. I mean, there are a lot of football teams putting up big numbers that do things differently than they do. It boils down to having really good players and a system that the coach knows and knows how to operate, and it's very difficult to slow them down.
Ellis, what is it about Manziel? I mean, there's other fast and quick guys. What is it about him that makes him so hard to do?
Anytime you have the kind of production he has, there are a lot of things. You can't just point to 1 or 2 things. The things I think that really separate him, he obviously has great mobility, but the thing that makes him extremely difficult is on top of that mobility, he has a lot of vision. When he's scrambling, he sees a lot of stuff down the field. So you're running, you're trying to run him down, and maybe your front guys can't catch him, and you don't know when to come out of coverage. Do you pull the trigger and come get him now, or do you stay back here because this guy's going to be wandering open and he can find him? But that's the thing that I think is so hard. I mean, if you got a fast guy, you put some more fast guys on the field. You know, but at the same time, when he's moving around back there, he has tremendous vision downfield. And he's got great accuracy too. Sometimes he'll get aggressive on some throws and take some chances, but more times than not, he gets away with it because he's got great location and velocity on the ball.
So is this something defensively where like you're trying to take away one part? If he's so dynamic, you just try to maybe limit one part of his game, whether it's running, passing. Is that something you try to do, or what?
You know, sometimes you take that approach. I really don't know how we do that as much as, you know, they're so balanced. If you just try to take one element away, I really think the other element's going to beat you just as bad. What you have to do, anytime you have a team like them that has good players at every spot, you have to get it out of your mind that you're going to stop them. You have to disrupt them. You have to slow them down. You have to get some takeaways. You have to play really good in the red zone. When the spread offenses came along, I was talking to a coach that ran it, and he wanted to know what he should be evaluating his defensive coordinator on. And I said, as long as you're going to run that type of offense, you better evaluate him on takeaways, red zone defense, and explosive games. In other words, eliminating big plays. Because I said, they're never going to stop anybody as long as you keep running that offense, because there's no physicality on the other side. So the problem with these offenses, when you get great players in them, it's like the wishbones of the 70s that used to put up 70 points. You can't stop them. You got to find a way to disrupt them. You got to take away the explosive plays. You got to get a negative yardage play and have a way to get off the field the next play. You got to get a turnover. You got to play great down in the red zone, and that's the only way you're going to manage the points.
Has that been something that your defense has done a good job of? Like, some of your players after games have said, you know, we knew they were going to get some yards. We just had to make that kind of play. Well,
in some of our yardage we've given up, we've talked about it in here before, it's been very poor adjustments and what we call trash plays. Some of them have just been against really good players, and we knew they were going to make their share of plays. Statistically, and I don't know that it means fundamentally, but statistically we look like we're pretty good in the red zone right now. We've improved a lot on third down, and that's certainly helping us. But statistically we give up too many yards. I mean, it's not anything that we're trying to do or taking a bend, not break approach. The old saying goes, we've just given up some bad plays and given up a lot of yardage, but our players have played with great effort, and on the end of a few of those plays we've been able to make a stop or get a turnover. But we've been pretty good in the red zone, and I'll tell you something else, we've got a great kicking game. We've got a punter and a kicker. When you're at South Carolina, the average starting position when we kick the ball off was 36-yard line. We got a guy that kicks it out of the back of the end zone quite often, and that helps. We got a punter. Every time we swap punts with most people, we gain about 12, 15 yards. So I think a lot of things are affecting us keeping people off the board on this defense.
What do you notice from Mike Evans, one of their top receivers, number 13?
Yeah, good player, and just he kind of reminds me of Alshon Jeffrey, who we had at South Carolina. You can be in perfect phase in coverage, and you just cannot. It's like trying to get a rebound off the backboard. He gonna shield you out. He gonna get the ball. Big, strong. He's very mobile. Greatest asset is not his speed. He's fast enough to get open, but even when you got him covered, he just got that tremendous size advantage. Not only length, but he's big. So he's very difficult to cover downfield, and he's obviously a great red zone receiver.
It's like someone obviously got to be very aware of when every snap.
No question. He's caught some long balls, but where he really concerns is down that red zone, because they get that ball up in the air, he's going to have a tremendous advantage.
Coach, could you talk about Kyrie Harden and the decision you made to go ahead and play him and not redshirt him?
Well, basically, we really feel like he's going to gain more experience by playing special teams and getting some reps on defense, and feeling like if he didn't get some, it's almost like starting over next year. And hopefully now we'll put him on special teams and he'll get more and more reps. I think just playing in game scenarios, whether you're playing the spur position, the boundary position, or playing in the kickoff coverage, I think game experience will help him a lot more.
Is he playing star or safety for you guys?
He's been boundary safety.
What's the key? You talked about the red zone defense, how it's been solid this year. What's the key when you get down the red zone to make a stop down there?
Not really one thing. Obviously, when you take away the distance, people can throw the ball. We're pretty good man coverage. Most of our long yardage balls have been given up in busted zone coverage. or, you know, giving up a play where somebody got beat in man-to-man. It's much easier to play aggressive man when all you got to defend is 15, 20 yards. And I just think that's probably the biggest factor. Our pass rush has improved dynamically over the last 2 or 3 weeks, and that gets the ball out of people's hands a little quicker. When you can play man down there, you can put people in the box. When you can't, then you kind of have to guess, play a chess game with them. But we've been able to play a little bit more man down there, and that's I think the biggest reason why we have been.
A couple more. When you speak about trying to limit those big explosive plays, particularly against a spread team, I'm guessing that means a lot of dime formation. With dime, are you going to be putting Halsey back in the lower spot again, or are you going to be keeping him back and putting somebody else in that dime role?
We've talked about that, and we don't know where he's going to be most valuable to us, as a deep safety or as a cover guy down underneath. We're going to have to look at different ways to get different people around the box. And one thing that he gives us, he's smart enough to do a couple of different things and learn maybe both spots. But we'll probably have to put 6 DBs out there quite often to match up on the spread formations. And where he will end up playing, I'm not sure yet, but he probably will end up in both spots before the game's over, because he's sort of our guy that gives us the rotation. The only problem with playing 6 DBs is you get to the point where you don't have 12. You only got about 6 or 8, and then you start running out of gas. So thank goodness we've got some kids healthy, got a little bit more rotation back there, and we can play with a few more of them on the field at one time. But we have to be careful about playing all game, because it would probably gas a couple of those guys out the way he scrambles around and keeps that ball alive.
Ellis Jones and Montrevious, I saw didn't play yesterday. I think it'll be good to go.
I think they will be. Montrevious, we sort of took the cautious approach. And who was the other?
Jonathan Jones.
Jonathan, I don't know. He was not dressed out. He was not ready to go. I don't know what his evaluation is. We'll probably learn a lot more about that tomorrow.